Welcome to this very special edition of Geopods with Mr. Shantanu Sharma. He is a senior policy researcher at Quantum Ecosystems and Technology Council of India. Previously, Shantanu was a senior analyst at Singapore's S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies, focusing on national security and geopolitical impact of quantum and space technologies across Asia. He has also worked as a cryptography engineer at PayPal, developing privacy-based solutions. So, Shantanu, it is great to have you here.
Thank you, Nisa, for having me. It's a great honor.
Right. So let us go ahead with the discussion. What does quantum really mean in technology? And why is everyone talking about it in India this day?
So, quantum sounds something straight out of sci-fi, right? It's basically how, when we zoom into smaller particles, very tiny particles, we see the physics we understand kind of breaking down. But I think the genius part that we did over the past few years is we kind of have like figured out how to harness that bizarre nature at those tiny scales. So, and now we're like developing some technologies around it, which are giving us capabilities which we haven't thought of before. Yeah.
Right. So what is the quantum ecosystem for India, and why is it important for us to build it? And why is it important for our security as well as our economy?
So think of the quantum ecosystem as somewhat like an orchestra. So we have universities doing deep science. We have research national laboratories like working on uh, a deeper infrastructure for long-term infrastructure, and we have industry and startups trying to like commercialize this research that universities and like all these scientists are doing. Uh, but the problem for India is trying to make everyone sing in harmony at scale, and yeah, trying to like juggle all that and the right rhythm as well.
So
So what it means is why quantum is important as such now is because the capabilities we have, uh, let's say for computing, we can surpass that with quantum. So you would have heard of quantum computers. It's quite a buzz now. So quantum computers kind of give overpower certain algorithms. So you can break encryption easily now. And when you say break encryption, think of what relies on encryption. It's your critical infrastructure, basically your healthcare, uh, everything you see like being digitized, electricity grid, how your water runs. It's kind of like underpinned by these algorithms, which are and like data which is encrypted and like shared, zooming across all. So that can be now broken, looked into, changed. So now there's a risk about your security or critical infrastructure. So everyone is trying to come up with ways to figure solve that. Good news is there are some ways, and we are trying to like figure out how to implement it at scale.
So, as you said that there are some cyber threats in India, and especially for our power and banking ecosystem, which serves almost 140 crores of everyone in India, right? So, what is the scope of creating a quantum safe communication infrastructure in India? And do you think it is urgent for us to do?
Sure. So there's a risk of breaking through quantum computers. So one patch is using stronger encryption methods, which doesn't rely on the old mathematics per se. So, they can be like difficult to implement. You would require a lot of like going through all of your database, how it's uh, kind of being encrypted, logged it, and like shared. So that's one aspect. Another aspect is using quantum to secure your data itself. That's secure quantum communication. How that's also another thing being looked into in this large quantum technology space. So for those who are scientifically inclined, it's basically you kind of make two particles share data, which an eavesdropper look into would break the quantum state. So you would kind of know when there's an eavesdropper, and your communication then becomes secure. It's somewhat related to that. So, uh, but those secure communication channels to share data require very good quality fiber optic cables, which are not present everywhere. You can't share those data via like satellite relay because there's weather disturbances and other challenges that we are like everyone's trying to solve.
So it is a completely different infrastructure altogether. Like if you want to create a quantum पूरा communication ecosystem, you need a different infrastructure in form of fiber optic cables, in form of the data. Does it have a data center? Whole thing as well. So can you unpack that a little bit?
So
Like
it's kind of building on top of existing infrastructure. There would be some tweaking required, like how there was change from 4G to 5G. Like there's slight infrastructure change, but not like completely. So that's how you can like kind of visualize quantum. And quantum is not just related to just communication and computing. There are multiple aspects to it. Like there's quantum sensing, which kind of gives you a very high resolution. uh, Imagine like calibrating or measuring data in just like small disturbances. With that, you can create good medical sensors. You can have good gravimeters, which can also detect like underground bunkers, underground reservoirs for oil. So there's like multiple applications in quantum.
so, is quantum commercialized in India? Like, are there any commercial use cases related to quantum?
Yeah, so it's already being commercialized, and think of quantum not as a next generation technology that we have to like an obstacle we have to overcome. It's something we are already using. The laptop we are like using right now works on semiconductor, which is somewhat understanding of the quantum mechanics. This new revolution of quantum is just using those understanding and making it, refining it more. So we're kind of there. It's somewhat tweaking it more, which requires more scientific research, more investment, and a deeper infrastructure as well to support it.
So how is it going, investment wise and infrastructure wise in India? Where are we
So
right?
So in India, I would say we are somewhat like building the whole stack, which is slightly unique. Some countries focus on importing, and trying to build stuff. India is trying to commercialize and do the research at one go. It's and it's kind of baffling. There's very good progress so far. So in hardware, you that's the beating part of the system you need. There's like some cryogenics, there's single photon source, which India has started developing, and there's push from the government itself to indigenize those development. Another one big bottleneck for India is talent still. There's progress in that as well. Uh, Next year, and I think, yeah, the next academic year, uh, India would be launching minor programs in quantum degree. So there would be a more quantum talent coming out of bachelor's degree and master's, which would be a good boost. But it will take like at least 5 to 10 years to get enough talent. So that's one big bottleneck. Another is the standardization and figuring out the interoperability, connecting the quantum with the classical, and when it is required and when it's not. That's also a big question.
So there are some legacy issues as well, like integrating the existing infrastructure with the quantum infrastructure. And like, how do you see that quantum getting diffused in our society? Any specific thing that will change fundamentally when the quantum is added to it?
So some changes would be faster, some changes would be slower. Depends on the technology, because quantum technologies, as I said, like communication, sensing, computing, is different technologies developing at different goals. So quantum sensing is much more mature. You would see their applications more sooner. So there's already talk about GPS, GPS denied navigation. Right now, you have heard like in India-Pakistan context as well. After the war, India, and I think during the war as well, India has deployed stronger GPS jamming signals uh, there near the border. That kind of stops navigation, just not for your aircrafts, civilian aircrafts, but your cars, your phones as well. So this new kind of sensor technology, you can kind of surpass GPS, and you can have GPS-free navigation. So that would be much faster. You could see much more better diagnostic tools in medicine. You would see those kind of coming to fruition earlier. Whereas quantum computers, that would, I would say, 5 years to a decade to see a much stronger application. Or so that would, but that application when it arrives would gives us insane boost. Like you would have AI becoming faster and the optimization process kind of quadratically, uh, yeah, in a quadratic time being achieved.
So like AI as well as quantum getting integrated, diffused together and creating something out of it as well. Like, can they
Yeah, yeah,
duplicate these skills of quantum?
yeah. Quantum is kind of everywhere. Like how so it can be used for AI is one computing thing. It's application space as well. There's application in medicine, as I pointed out. So AI is technology which is there's corporate interest as well. So you would have seen Google working heavily, IBM heavily investing in it. Even like banks like JP Morgan are interested in how quantum and AI interact and how optimization process like high speed trading could be made faster.
So what are they doing? Like, what is IBM doing with quantum? Why is it interesting?
So IBM is focused primarily on quantum computers. So they are working on something that's called superconducting quantum computers. So for quantum computers, they can be built with different hardware. So it's not just how a Windows computer different from an Apple computer. It's the chip itself is fundamentally different. Instead of imagine one being semiconductor, other being a different technology. So we are still trying to figure out which technology gives certain pros, certain cons. IBM is superconducting. It's your semiconductor kind of uh, coming down to like 0 Kelvin, very, very cold temperatures, where you have like these bizarre properties and you use those bizarre properties to make the computations faster.
So like, it is completely a different material altogether compared to what we have in the legacy system.
Yeah, it's different material, and you would have to, the system itself is because you would have to cool down to a certain degree. You would need vacuum, you would need different things. So that's for superconducting. Whereas for photonic, for trap ion, there's different technologies where instead of the semiconductor being cooled down or to a superconducting, it's something just utilizing lasers or something like a molecule or diamonds to do the computing. So that's the fascinating part.
All right. So when we talk about the geopolitics of a specific technology,
Mhm.
what do you think United States and China are up to when it comes to quantum? Like, is there a zero-sum game between them as well in this technology? That's like how we see in semiconductor.
So when it comes to quantum, it has become somewhat of a geopolitical contention because uh, it kind of uh, cracks the backbone of a nation, the critical infrastructure, either by the quantum computers, the quantum communication, and even sensing gives some kind of advantage over how some where submarines are, how where your bunkers are. So you would have to think like as a nation strategically. So for US and China, US has a lead in quantum computers with a lot of big tech companies there. So they're advancing much faster in that. Whereas in China, it's a leader in quantum communications, building secure communication. They have already done the satellite. They've kind of tried to solve it, and they're making it to a commercial aspect. Kind of make between two cities. One is Shanghai, if I'm not wrong, and other is Beijing. Making a secure communication channel across cities, whereas others are struggling to just do from one building to another. So there's a huge leap, huge gap where for all countries to traverse. For US and China, they have already started playing the chess game for of geopolitics when it comes to quantum. So there's already export controls that started from the first US-China trade war around COVID period. So So it has been a long calculated risk to secure the economic advantage and strategic advantage.
So what is India up to when it comes to quantum?
So India is still in early phases compared to like these heavy giants. India doesn't have a strong commercialization or like a big tech company presence here. So that's developing. India, the government itself is working much more efficiently. We are learning from the mistake from semiconductors, and also what we have like done in the space sector, and it's being applied to quantum much more efficiently. There's backing for each aspect for startups, for the research. So it's a very like proactive phase.
So like from whatever I understood that you said about quantum, it is like a stack of technology that gets added to another stack of technology. Like when it comes to space applications, there is
Mhm,
already a legacy system in place that is working the way it is. You
mhm.
just add quantum to it, and it enhances a certain part of that application, be it in space or anywhere else. So where
That's
do you think?
Yeah, I think that's the dream. Like that's where what uh, like we're trying to achieve. But there also quantum technology also gives this another vertical. It's completely new applications that were not possible with classical because of the bizarre nature. So that's also being kind of utilized, or we are trying to utilize that. uh, it's not just a stacking up, it's kind of sometimes replacement, sometimes of a completely different system. Yeah, but it's always easier to write stack up and make it interoperable. So for all the technologies that is possible, that's kind of the process we are in.
Right. So what do just like how people say that AI is the next offset between the superpowers. Like the country
Mhm.
that leads the AI race has a different kind of military offset when it comes to the war scenario, the total war scenario. Does quantum has such a narration or something like that? Does it provide an offset to a country that has developed that capability before the other country?
Yeah, it does for certain aspects, like as I talked about GPS-free navigation. Uh, So for a normal, right now, for nuclear submarines, for example, they have to come up to calibrate the GPS to because over time their error rate increases, and after a certain point, you would have to come up, recalibrate, and deep dive in. So, but then also gives a risk of your nuclear submarine being detected. With these kind of sensors, you kind of lay low for up to years if you want to. So your strategic kind of application or how you think for a country kind of changes. Uh, as you said, for AI, quantum will kind of enhance and is enhancing a lot of these AI applications. So there will be some boost you would see in that. So quantum would be a major part of calculus coming forward, but that also depends on how expensive the technology is and how better it is. And more importantly, for when it comes to the military and security application, how rugged it is. So that is a hard part. So it's quantum is in a phase. It's kind of some of these technologies are coming from lab to that rugged part. So that's happening, and that's uh, why these countries have also started having these export controls and strategic bans here and there.
So are there any export control loopholes that you are aware of in quantum?
Yeah, so initially they started in 2019, 2021 for Russia and Belarus. So when the Russia-Ukraine war broke out, that was when we first saw quantum like export controls kind of being mentioned. So they were first clubbed with AI and these other emerging tech, but later on we saw specific quantum focused export control for certain qubits, limiting how your photon detectors are being sent over. And a big hit came was when US, I think recently passed 1 year ago, when, if you remember, the spy balloon incident happened. So then, as a response to that, US kind of blocked a lot of research, even equipment going to China. So that was a big blow, which has not been for semiconductors or the NVIDIA chips seen before. And those semiconductor chips were still being committed to or limited to those certain areas which are not like national security dependent, not even just universities. So that was a big thing. Why quantum is like everyone's up radar now.
Interesting times we are living in. Like I see in semiconductors, the private players, they are developing certain technology stacks in such a way that they can get through the export control very easily. Like they will create the product just at a threshold just enough that they can get through the export section.
Mm.
So I think something might happen in quantum as well once the commercializing aspect of it grows. Who do you think will lead that race? Like what private actor will lead the quantum space in the world actually? How NVIDIA led the chip design ecosystem, the AI
I
ecosystem.
think it's too early to call because even the tech giants, they are focused on certain like key technology stacks, but there are some certain technology stacks that can kind of surpass or can be a surprise. A recent one was Microsoft said they have what is called a topological qubit. They're kind of trying to build that. It's something that will bring the quantum technology, quantum computing at scale much faster than anticipated if it's like done correctly. So there are certain surprises that can happen, and there are startups, $1 billion back startups coming up in quantum as well. So they're developing different kind of technologies. So there are surprises for sure to happen.
So they are expecting certain value to be created out of it in distant future, but they do see that something might
Mm.
happen. So let's talk about India's R&D ecosystem related to quantum technology. So what is going on? What is India doing?
So India has kind of sectored into like four the verticals: computing, communication, and sensing material and devices. So that's done through the NQM objective. So NQM is the National Quantum Mission. Uh, Almost $1 billion like funding through like certain different programs have been done to sustain these funding environments. So with these verticals, there are a lot of universities tied up. So IIT Delhi, IIT Bombay would act as the hub, and like different universities kind of connected to them, kind of sharing the data, what the research is. So it's a much more connected and much more integrated environment in quantum, which is happening now. And with a lot of funding being developed, being a lot of research labs in universities are being funded now. So there would be a more expansive and more proactive research base coming up in the near future. Right now, there's advancement in quantum computing, not just from uh, the R&D side, but also the startup and industry. So there's a 25 qubit quantum computer already in India by Cuba AI, Indian company. For quantum communications, there's CUNY Labs, which has developed secure communication for over 100 plus kilometers. And so there's a lot of these startup activities also, which are kind of, some of them are also spin-off from universities themselves. So it's a very exciting time to be in, and India is definitely a big competitor in this space.
So where do we stand with the STEM talent about quantum in India?
So the STEM talent is there a lot of there's a lot of interest in India for quantum and a lot of heart in it, a lot of passion, and that's being kind of converted. So with these more industry and startups being there, there would be more jobs created. There's the talent, but not a lot of direction to go in right now. So that's why you see a lot of them also emigrating outside, but a lot of them also started coming back in since the funding have come in, these infrastructure is being set up, and the activity has started happening.
So talking about your organization, UETC, what does it do in India's quantum ecosystem?
So QTCI kind of enables and accelerates the quantum ecosystem. Like GeoStrata, we are ourselves a Section 8 not-for-profit. So we are there to serve the ecosystem. We talk to the stakeholders from academia, industry, and the government, and try to build bridge any gaps and build bridges. Basically, we also that means try to figure out how to do policy recommendations to certain stakeholders, which can like build the ecosystem better and drive it into a certain better direction, if possible.
So, any interesting research that you are doing right now that you want our viewers to know?
So right now, I am looking at the quantum security ecosystem as such in India. Like, what's the different technologies India is developing for the security and military applications specifically, and what are like kind of the gaps when we compare to technologies these US, China, France, Germany is interested in, and whether so different countries also have their different strategic thinking for they have different technology priorities as well. So how it converts back to India and how is India doing and what can India do basically.
Very interesting. We are coming to the end of the podcast. So this is the question that we ask all our viewers, all our guests. And what do you think? What does it take to make it into the policy analysis ecosystem? What advice will you give to a STEM graduate who thinks that now I need to change the field and I really need to get into the policy side of it, the humanities side? So what advice will you give?
I think for me, I came from a STEM background, a computer science degree, and now uh, myself in policy. Uh, uh, it requires a different way of thinking. It's not about the research methodology and the result. The result is the primary thing that everyone needs to be aware of. Policy means people won't hear to you. You just have to convey them into the shortest possible form. It's kind of news reporting, but for everyone and for a very specific policy space you're looking at. It's just a translating part to what, why, where, and who, and like boiling down to just those few questions.
Do you think your STEM background gives you an edge?
The STEM background definitely helps like figuring out the technology aspect because for a lot of people in policy they come from different backgrounds from economy from law and all of these kind of intersect in one way or another. Let's say for even the export controls we were talking about, it's a legal concept, it's an economic concept, and there is a lot of thinking behind that. So but there also needs to be information about what the technology itself, what is the limit, when to stop, when to limit, or when not to limit, will it impact the research or not. So every I think information, every perspective is important in policy, be it I think STEM, be it legal, be it economic, even arts and literature. They are fantastic addition to someone who's in policy.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Shantanu, for doing this, and we look forward to host you again very soon.
Thank you, Nisar, and I would like to thank GeoStrata team for hosting me. Thank you.